Okay guys, let's get started. I'm going to be starting today with my eyebrows, and I'm just going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow in the color dark brown. And I'm just going to use my brush at an angle to make hair-like strokes to fill in my brows. Now I'm going to begin cleaning up my brows with LA Girl Concealer in the color Warm Honey. I'm using a flat brush so that I can be precise as possible and get really close to my brow line and get in there and clean up any harsh edges, any mistakes that I made in the beginning, and just to make it look overall better. Now I'm going to be taking the PLOUISE base in shade 3, and I'm going to be applying that all over my lid, and I'm going to be blending it out with the Morphe Beauty Blender. My palette of choice today is going to be the Morphe Fierce by Nature palette. I'm going to begin starting with the shade Stamina, which is a dark brown, and I'm going to begin tapping that shade into my crease to see where I want it exactly to be. Once I get it where I want it, I'm going to use windshield wiper motions to blend it out. Okay, so same thing for the other eye. Tap, tap, tap the product, and then I'm going to start sweeping it back and forth so that it can be blended and so that I can get the color payoff that I want. Now that I have the color how I want it, I'm going to go back into that palette and grab the shade Disrupt. We're going to place this directly over the first shade, and what this is doing is serving as a gradient effect. This is going to get rid of any harsh lines and just give you a seamless blend. Once I have the top part blended, I'm going to take that first shade and I'm going to bring it from the outer corner of my eye to the middle, and I'm just going to use those same sweeping motions to just intensify the color. Now we are ready to cut our crease. I'm going to be squeezing my brush hairs to make them as flat as possible, and then I'm going to be grabbing Too Faced's glitter glue to cut my crease. How I like to cut my crease is I like to press my brush into my lid, and then I use like tapping motions. Like I'm tapping it and pressing it into my skin until I get like a rough draft of where I want it to be, and then I'm like dragging it across to make an oval shape. I know that probably sounds really weird, but hopefully you guys can see the demonstration as I'm doing it. I'm tapping it, pressing it into my eye until I see the shape that I'm getting, and then I'm dragging it across. Now that I have a rough draft, I'm actually going to be using the Makeup Forever highlighter that I used for my face as an eyeshadow today. So now I'm going to begin applying that eyeshadow to the rough draft that we have created. And once you're applying your eyeshadow, you kind of want to be as precise as possible. And I know this video is sped up, but I'm actually going slow and taking my time because you really want to get your cut crease as sharp as possible. Now here's a tip. If you're using a glittery or shimmery type of eyeshadow, it might be better to apply it with your finger first and then go back with the brush. If you see with the second eye, I applied it with my finger first and then I go back with my brush to make it as sharp as possible. This is going to prevent any patchiness. Sometimes glitter or shimmery eyeshadows can make it look really patchy or ashy, and that's just not a good look. Now I'm going back with that first shade that we used, and I'm just blending it, adding it to the top of our crease, just giving it more definition. Now I'm going to be taking this black shade Smoked Out and I'm going to add it directly where my cut crease ends. And this is the moment where we are about to blend for dear life, sis. I am literally taking that black shade and then I'm going back on top of that with the brown shade. And then I'm going back with the gold shade on top of that. And it's literally just like a battle until you're satisfied, until you feel like it's blended enough. You just keep going and keep adding and keep taking away until it's to your perfection, until your liking. Now we are ready to apply our liner. I'm going to be using the liner by Wet n Wild, and the easiest way I can describe how to do your liner is I like to draw an angled line at the outer corner of my eye and then try to connect the top of that line to the inner corner of my eye. Now I know that probably sounds very difficult, but it's better to just watch and you get better with practice. And if you find yourself messing up or getting messy with your liner, that's perfectly okay, because the next step is going to clean it all up for us. The next step, I'm going to start adding my foundation, and I'm going to take a small brush to just clean up the edges of my liner to make it more sharp and precise. The foundation I'm going to be using today is the Pro Filt'r foundation by Rihanna. I'm also going to be using her concealer as well. That's what you see me putting at the bottom. I'm also using Shape Tape concealer underneath my eye, and it matches my skin tone perfectly. And I'm just going to be blending all of those out with a damp beauty blender. Now I'm going to grab my foundation again, and I'm going to clean up the top of my brows and just make sure that everything is nice and neat. The next step is going to be concealer. Today I'm using concealer by BECCA in the shade Tan. I always like to use a concealer that's 2 to 3 shades lighter than my skin tone. I just like how it brightens the underneath of my eye. If you don't like that effect, then you can definitely use one that's 1 shade lighter, or you can just use one that is your exact shade of your skin. Now I'm going to get a brush and blend out my foundation onto my neck. I'm also going to get a damp beauty blender to blend out my concealer. And when I'm blending out my concealer, I just like to tap and pat, look up, tap and pat. To set my concealer, I'm going to be using the SACHA Buttercup powder, and I'm just going to place that on areas that I place my concealer. I'm also going to carve out my jawline. Now we are on to lashes, and I know people are going to come for me, but I do not care. Yes, I use hair bonding glue to apply my lashes. You heard right. I just dot with the back of my tweezers a line on my lash line. You don't have to wait. You can pop them on directly after, and those lashes are going to be stuck, sis. They're not going anywhere. And I need you guys to comment down below if you use hair glue to apply your lashes, because I know I'm not the only one. And I know people have their thoughts about it and say you're going to go blind. But sis, this is what works, and we're going to use what works. Period. Do you guys see the difference that lashes make? It literally takes it to a whole nother level. Now we're ready to contour. Well, I don't really like using contour specifically, so I'm going to use bronzer, but it's the same thing. So I'm basically just carving out my cheekbones, going over my forehead, making my jawline pop even more, and giving myself that chiseled face look. And for my favorite part, which is highlighter, I like to wet the back of my finger with setting spray, place it on my cheek, grab my highlighter brush, blend my highlight out, blend it out with a beauty blender, grab my blush, place it directly underneath my highlight, and I kind of battle it out between my highlight, blush, and my bronzer, just how I did my eyeshadow, until I get the desired look that I'm going for. Once I get the desired look that I'm going for, I'm just going to make sure that everything is how I like it, and I'm going to drown myself in setting spray, and I'm going to be using the NYX Dewy Setting Spray. After all that, we're ready to move on to lip gloss. I'm going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow, the same exact thing that I use for my eyebrows. I'm going to be using it as a lip liner, and the lip gloss that I'm using today is going to be the E.L.F. lip gloss, and it's in the shade Pink Cosmo. I really love this lip combination together. This is my go-to currently. And yeah, that is basically it. Y'all watch me go from a sad one to a bad one, okay? But yes, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. And comment down below and ask me any questions that you guys want to ask me for my question and answer video. That's going to be the next video that I post on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you guys in the next video.